Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Sharks Alumni Rewind presented by SAP. I'm Ted Ramey, the host of Morning Tide on the Sharks Audio Network. I am here inside the SAP suite at SAP Center, and we are joined once again by Dan Boyle, of course, a member of the Sharks Alumni. Dan, what'd you think there, man? I know you were talking effort heading into this second period. Are effort and execution one and the same, or are they two different things after watching that period?
They're two different things, I think. Anyways, I think you could work hard, but that's the first thing I want to see, and then obviously you got to execute. And I think obviously there wasn't a ton of execution there in the second period. You know, Vegas has been the better team tonight. They threw two, anyways. So you know, mistake here or there cost them those two goals, but. You know, they're not playing terrible by any means. They're just, I think Vegas is a little bit more efficient.
In terms of team defense, what does that mean to you? Because that's a term that's often thrown around. Well, when that was humming, when the team defense felt to you like everybody was contributing, what was it that you were seeing, or what should Sharks fans be looking for to see that team defense happening on the ice when they're watching this team?
I think it starts on the offensive zone. I think, you know, as a defenseman, if the third forward was kind of high, it could allow me to pinch. The back checking, it starts in the offensive zone. If guys were back checking as defensemen, we could kind of stand up and be a little more aggressive. If guys were lazy coming back, guys were going for lazy changes, that backs the D-man off. And so I think it starts in the offensive zone. It starts with your forwards back checking. And then after that, as you kind of get in the neutral zone and back in the defensive zone, it's about positioning and communication. You know, you got to be talking out there. And but I think it definitely is team, and it starts with the forwards, I think, coming back.
It's amazing you bring up communication, because that's exactly where I was going to go. With no fans here at SAP Center, you hear how much talking is actually going out there on the ice. And it's something that every game I've been here, in my life, it's been impossible to hear. Even when I'm on the glass, I haven't been able to hear it. And now suddenly I can hear all the communication, guys calling out names, Doobie's yelling stuff. Their guys are yelling for passes, telling them where they are, yelling out, where somebody else is on the clock. They're yelling 3 o'clock. How important was communication? And did certain Sharks teams gel better with that communication? And does that sometimes lead to a better performance?
Yes. Ideally, well, I should say, when you have strong chemistry, like I think, the top line for the Vegas Golden Knights have been together for a few years. Ideally, you don't want to shout out. You don't want to be out, let the other team know what's going on. So that'd be the ideal perfect situation. But I think in the defensive zone, especially, I think that's where you need to communicate a lot. Obviously, teams where there's a lot of switches. It's obviously a fast game. There's a lot of things going on. So I think in the defensive zone, you always got to talk. The goalie's got to talk. D-men got to talk. Everybody's got to communicate. Offensively, so I talked a lot when I was on the ice in the defensive zone. Offensively, I wasn't as vocal, because I think there's the element of surprise, and it's the other team that's really kind of talking a lot. So I think in the defensive zone, it's absolutely key.
In terms of looking back at your career, were there guys that you played against or guys that you played with that had more of a mouth for the opposition? There were more trash talkers out there on the ice?
Oh yeah, there was a bunch. I remember Ott in Dallas in my time with San Jose. He wouldn't stop. There was a bunch of guys. I'm sure I could go down the list. It would take up a whole hour. But certainly there's some guys that are good at it. Some guys try and they're not so good, but some guys are effective. They can definitely get under your skin, and that was part of their game plan.
Did it ever give you kind of a laugh or a kick? Like if a guy took a dig at you, would you kind of laugh at it and say, like, yeah, it's not bad?
Yeah, sometimes there were some really good ones, and you just couldn't help but laugh. Sometimes things were a little personal. I think across the line, and you get upset. But no, sometimes I enjoy a good dig. Whether it's against me or with me. I think if it's a good one, it's a good one. I would let them know, hey, that was pretty funny.
While we're on the vein of communication, throughout your career, you were always really good with the media. And just to give you a bit of background on me, my dad is a sports broadcaster as well, semi-retired now, but he was very effusive when you joined the Sharks. He used to love doing sessions with you and hearing what you had to say, and would talk about you being really honest. And I'm just curious, was that the way you were with the media, the fact that you would give longer, more detailed answers, that you were more effusive? Was that part of your just personal style, or would you say things that you wanted the team to hear, but maybe it needed to be digested through other sources before it got back to them?
That's just the way I am in life. I'm very honest with my friends, parents, brother, people. I'm an open book, and media comes in 3, 4 minutes after the game, so you're still kind of, and I don't like the cliches. I know it's some guys, that's what they need to do, and that's how they handle it, and that's fine. That's okay. That's the way they need to do it. But I can't give you cliches. I can't stand listening to them personally. I'd rather hear, guys. Logan's another example of a guy that kind of talks, and you can kind of understand and feel what he's actually telling you versus somebody that's just giving you cliches. So whether it's right or wrong, whatever you believe, I certainly I was always very honest with the media and let them know what I thought. Again, there are times where certain things need to be kept in the locker room, so you got to
Yeah.
be careful not to cross the line. I think there is such a thing as keeping something between the four walls of the locker room, but for the most part, I was pretty honest.
Yeah, but like you alluded to, when you have the media coming in just a couple of minutes after the game, I mean, I can tell that the guys are revving hot still. Like, the win or lose, it's still, there are probably times where you were being very honest, but you still had to be very cognizant of what you were saying.
Yeah, you have to, and they do. I think that the media comes in probably a little bit too quickly, and I guess they have things to do. They gotta write their articles. They want to go home, so it's part of the business. But it's certainly, and again, we're all cut from different cloths. I think some guys,
Yeah.
as soon as the buzzer goes off, they're on to the next game. I was not one of those guys. I would go home. I would watch the games or my shifts. It took me at least a full day and sometimes more to get over it. So, I was always very passionate. And, if you're going to ask me a question, you were going to get a direct answer.
In terms of digesting things, were there certain moments in your career where, whether it was a good night or a bad night with the Sharks, that particularly stick out as it stayed with you for a while, or it took you more than a day to kind of get past a tough loss, in the middle of January?
Well, I mean, the one that sticks out is obviously the own goal in the Colorado series. The puck, you know, Cranky gives me a pass. I backhand it. I was trying to backhand it past the guy, and it goes off his shin pad, beats Nabby in an overtime goal and a playoff goal, which is like literally your worst nightmare. And so that was kind of one of those nights. I came in the locker room, and I don't know who it was. They said, "Do you want to keep the media away?" I said, "No, bring them in."
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the media loves that kind of stuff. And I wanted to go back and play. Like, the hardest thing for me was going to be, I play these movies in my head. When it's a bad shift or a bad game, they continue to play in my head, and I can't turn them off. So I knew I was going to have a bad movie in my head for 48 hours. I would have loved to have had a double header, like in baseball, where I could have just moved on. But that was one of the tougher ones. But thankfully, that series and the next game and everything turned out, with us winning.
Were there any moments in your career with the Sharks that particularly stand out as a favorite?
Nothing in particular. I think just the playoffs, just in general. We had such a good team for 6 years. I was here for 6 years. I would say we were a legit contender, a top four contender for 4 of those years. We always kind of ran into something, whether it was injury bug or maybe the goalie's not playing well, or the D-man not playing well, or the offense went dry, or we always ran into something and couldn't finish it off. But I just skating out to the crowd again, back to that arena, the crowd, every playoff, it was just the level, the atmosphere was just so awesome. And again, it's unfortunate we couldn't win, because I played on some excellent teams here.
Do you have one in mind that you thought was the best team?
I mean, my first year here, we won the President's Cup. It was my first year, Rob Blake's first year. I think it
Yeah.
was Todd McClellan's first year. I don't know how many points we had. We had um, I know we were the first seed. We won the President's Cup, and we lost in the first round to Anaheim, and it was really disappointing. We ran into I remember their goalie. I think it was Hillier, maybe, played really well, and I don't think our guys battled hard enough that first year in the playoffs. So I was a little verbal about that. Guys eventually picked it up, but I mean that team was pretty solid. But again, out of the 6 years, four of those teams, I would say could have competed certainly for a Stanley Cup on any given year against any team.
Going back to when you're a kid and you're falling in love with the game of hockey, who's the hockey hero, the guy you're looking at, or guys that you paid attention to that were getting in your head and making you want to be like them, emulate their game, or just that
Yeah,
kind of inspired you along your way?
yeah, easy question. There's two guys. Uh, I wore number 22 because of Rick Tocchet. I was a Philadelphia Flyers fan, as I mentioned before. He was I was an undersized guy, so I had a thing for undersized guys, which Rick was, and he was feisty. He could score, he could fight. Um, and then on defense, Brian Leach, again, undersized defenseman. He was 5'10", went, played college hockey, and I didn't get to see Bobby Orr. So in my opinion, Brian Leach is the best defenseman that's played. Again, I wasn't fortunate enough to see Bobby Orr, but as far as being smart, wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the fastest guy, not the hardest shot, but I think by far the smartest defenseman, could see the ice, and so that the two of Brian Leach, two of Rick Tocchet, that's why I wore 22.
Was it interesting to watch over the course of your career the fact that you went from being a kid that maybe you were looking up to guys, and then you became somebody that other maybe undersized guys were coming in and were looking up to you? Or have you ever had any guys come up to you and tell you that you were somebody that they looked towards?
Yeah, I have actually. Guys that are still playing today. Chris Letang told me I was his favorite defenseman. Drew Doughty, he could have been lying to me, but Drew Doughty told me that. And, Duncan Keith in Chicago, when we played together on the Olympic team, told me I was one of the guys that, he looked up to. Not that we were, a ton of years, apart from each other, but yeah, it was pretty amazing to hear, guys that actually appreciated what I did out there. And, I think we're all, as far as undersized defensemen now, when I started, there might have been 4 or 5 in the whole league. Now you have 2 on every team. So I think there's no me, if there's no Brian Leach and, Don Sweeney and Sergei Zubov and guys before. So I think I was, the next, Brian Rafalski and me were kind of the smaller guys in the years that I played in our prime. And now now you see like 2 on every team. So I think we all played a role in it, and I'm very proud of that.
I'm just curious to get your thoughts on Patty Marleau, just still going strong. If everything goes according to plan, he'll be writing his names into the history books, which it seems like he's doing every other night anyway. But do you marvel at the fact that he's just still going? And I know he's not as fast as he was in his prime, but there's still times where it just blows me. He just makes it look effortless at times, man.
Yeah, yeah. I think his skating is what has kept him in the league for so long, and allowing him to play today. He's always been a tremendous skater. You got to be healthy, and thankfully he's been healthy. I think you got to be, uh, prepared. I think he obviously does the right stuff on and off the ice, during the season, after the season. So, a little luck, smart. You got to be smart, and it's pretty amazing. And at the end of the day, you got to have that fire. I think that fire goes out on a lot of us, and you know, I don't want to say he's fortunate. That'd be the wrong thing to say, but he's still chasing, the cup. I don't know if he's going to get an opportunity to, but I would love to see him. But yeah, what he's doing is absolutely incredible.
Well, Dan, really appreciate your time for us this evening. And one more question just before we let you go. Sharks are staring at a bit of goal deficit here. I'm sure that there were points in your career where you were down 3-0 entering the third. Was it just take it one goal at a time, or do you go out there and you immediately go out with the physical play and try to change the dynamic? How do you work on getting yourself back into this game right now?
This is also an easy one for me. My two favorite times to play hockey, and always want to play with the lead. Don't get me wrong. Winning is the most important thing. But besides that, when you pull the goalie, when you are a delayed penalty, goalie comes out if the other team touches the puck. So you can do whatever you want as long as you don't put it in your own net because your goalie's gone. So that was the most fun. The second thing is when you're down 2 or 3 goals. Again, you don't want to be in that position, but that's when you can maybe take some chances. We talked earlier about keeping it simple. Well, this is maybe where someone might say, hey, Dan, you're wrong. But I think, hey, you can't keep doing, if something's not working, you got to switch it up. I believe that. Some people believe you just got to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. I believe if something's not working on that given night, you gotta switch it up. And I think, being down 2 goals is kind of when guys play loose. You almost have that nothing to lose attitude. And sometimes, you get the first one, the other team kind of tightens up a little bit. You're loose, you're going, next thing you know, you tie it up. So again, you always want to play with the lead. You'd rather be in the lead and win. But if there's a time to play, some hockey that can be fun, and maybe guys get out of their streak, guys can play it a little looser, now's the time.
Well, Dan, really appreciate your time here again. I can't wait until we are not in the midst of a global pandemic and we can get you back out here at SAP Center and we can person like again. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Take care. Thank you.
That wraps up by SAP. We'll be back with the next set of Reverse Retro Nights with more Alumni Rewind for the San Jose Sharks. I'm Ted Ramey signing off.